Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Bette McCarthy. I'm the chair of the Barnstable Old Kings Highway Committee, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Old Kings Highway Historic District is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel. In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, you must please make your presence known. Okay, so I guess nobody is doing that. All right, to all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District, under Section 9 of Chapter 470, Acts of 1973, as amended, you are hereby notified that a hearing will be held tonight on the applications listed on the agenda for September 27th, 2023. We'd like to remind all applicants and audience members that we are an elected volunteer committee, and following the guidelines of the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act. Any applicant or interested party who's aggrieved by the decision of this committee, they have a right to appeal the decision to the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic Commission. We ask that during this evening's proceedings, cell phones be turned off and conversations other than those before the committee take place outside of this remote meeting. When an applicant is called, we ask that the applicant and all interested parties identify themselves. And lastly, as a best practice for meetings held remotely, where we may not be able to identify visually who's speaking, we ask that all committee members and participants identify themselves before making any motion or comments. Online audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of the hearing can use the raise hand button to notify the chair. Dial-in audience members wishing to participate during this public comment section of the hearing should press *9 on their phones to identify the chair. All participants are going to be muted, and then again, you must be recognized by the chair in order to participate. So our first order of business for the evening is to do a roll call vote of the committee. So I'd like to see if George Jessup is present. No? All right. Wendy Shuck?
Here.
Ryan Caholen?
Here.
Did Brian say he was here?
He did.
Okay.
Yep. Here.
Leslie Wallace?
Here.
Okay. And I myself, Bette McCarthy. All right. So the first order of business is the application for Maura and Stephen O'Hare, 55 Hilliard's Hayway, West Barnstable, map 136, parcel 047, built in 1986, to construct an addition of new dormers in the front of the house while preserving the district's character, and to renovate the rear deck, putting on an addition of a screened-in porch and a deck above within the existing structure. So now we'd like to open up the public hearing for this applicant.
Sure,
So may I have a motion?
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Leslie Wallace, second.
Very good. And a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Brian Caholen,
Aye.
And Beth McCarthy, aye. All right, so would the applicant like to discuss their project?
Hello, I'm Steve Orr. I'm wondering actually if Peter Haig from AD Design is on this call. He is my architect. No?
No.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can with this. I have to tell you, I've never done this before, so please bear with me.
Okay.
What is the most helpful thing for me to explain? Just the general idea or the general goals of it, or again, forgive my ignorance. I expected Peter to be on this call.
Yeah, I think just a general description of the work that you'd like to do would be
Sure.
helpful.
Sure. So that's you're looking there at Peter's schematic of the front portion of our house. What you're looking at, if you look right down the middle of the design, you'll see the two existing dormers. Those are there now. What we are trying to do is to make the left-hand portion of the house more uniform to the center. So the dormers on the left-hand side of the diagram would be the similar shape and size to what is already there in the center. Also on the ground floor in the middle, you'll see those four sort of quad hung windows. At the moment, there are two windows existing, and we would just like to make the two that are there into a four, maintaining the same basic design elements. And in terms of the front view, if you look on the right hand portion, you'll see sort of a larger dormer with a cupola on top. That would also be new construction that is not there now, but it would be designed, in the same, say, shape and size and materials that are used on the other dormers that are there. And that's about it for the front.
Okay.
The back of the house faces Great Marsh, so nobody else would see this portion of it. But what we are trying to do, this is a little hard to explain on Zoom, so again, excuse me, but if this makes sense, the left-hand portion of the deck, which would essentially be the far third on your left-hand side where you see those deck sliders, that is existing. What we'd like to do is to put a small spiral staircase, as you can see by the diagram. We would also be extending the deck more towards the center of the house, and on top of that deck would be a screened-in porch. I don't believe there are any other changes to the back of the house.
Okay.
No changes to either side either.
All right. All right. Does that conclude your remarks for that?
Yes.
Okay. Now would the committee like to make some comments regarding this application?
Sure, I just have a couple questions on the back of the house on the deck. So on, I guess I'd call it kind of the first level of the deck. So that's all contiguous, right? That would be just one big long deck. Is that correct?
It is, and again, on the I'm not sure I'm using the right word here, but on the left third of the house where those three sliding doors are, that is existing, as is the staircase that goes from the first floor to the backyard.
Okay, got it. And then the part that you're adding over to the right on the first level, that will be completely screened in, is that right?
No, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the material, but they make these pretty cool sort of raisable screens.
Oh, cool.
So the hope is that we can have a little mosquito protection in the evenings,
Yeah.
but have it open air in the daytime.
Yeah. Greenheads too, right? You must get
Exactly. Enjoyable.
Yeah, not. Yeah, I think that the modifications blend in really well with the existing structure. I do think it balances the front of the house out nicely. I also think it blends in well with the neighborhood. And to your point earlier, we really, from the road, you can't see the back. The only one that's going to see it are the egrets and the great blue herons and I guess the seagulls. So I'm otherwise I don't have any comments. I'm fine with your proposal.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Ryan, do you have any comments regarding this application?
So nothing on the back of the house. I think that's fine. The front of the house, the pitch of the dormer roof. Do we know what that's gonna look like?
I'm really sorry, guys, but that is not something that I can field unless it's on this document somewhere.
I mean, it looks like it'll still be relatively steep. Just trying to avoid a flat roof look.
It's
The
definitely
cupola and the way
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just the way the cupola sits on it, I'm gonna assume that we're keeping a similar roof pitch, which is probably fine. The cupola, is that topped in copper? Is that wood painted AZEK?
The hope was that it would be topped in copper, and now that I'm understanding your question about the pitch, it's definitely not trying to be a sort of odd looking flat outcropping. It's intending to carry the same pitch line and just provide a little bit of light into that room, which is the master bedroom of the house.
Understood. And my last question, because I have an affinity for cupolas, is it going to be lit?
No, I don't think so. We would like to put a little weather vane on the top of it, but I don't believe it's being lit.
All right. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Ryan. Leslie, would you like to comment?
I just have one question because I was confused. The front, the left end, the left that you see in the middle. Now, the windows. The windows are going to be on the left side, the size of the ones in the middle? Or was it reversed?
So if you're talking about the middle section of the house, what is existing there now would basically be the far left of the far right. We would like to put two more in the middle, essentially creating a bigger
No,
rectangle.
up above. Yeah.
Yeah,
See
so those
two, are they gonna be are the two end ones gonna be the same size as the two in the middle?
correct.
Oh, okay, that's what I was confused. Yeah, I think that'll look better. Okay, fine with me, and the back's fine, very interesting.
Okay, thanks, Leslie. And this is Bette McCarthy. I'm very familiar with the house. Actually, a friend was the former owner, so I think the changes are appropriate and they're well balanced, and the deck should be very enjoyable. So those are my comments regarding it. Is there anybody in the public wishing to comment? Is there anybody online wanting to make any remarks about this?
Chair, this is Erica Brown. I don't see anyone raising their hand to speak to this project at this time.
Okay, if that's the case, then we need to close the public hearing portion for this application. So
Yes.
we need a motion.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Leslie
Ryan
Wallace.
Caholen, I'll second.
Very
There you
good.
go.
You can do the
Brian?
next one.
And then we'll have a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So now we'll vote on the application. So we need a motion regarding.
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Stephen and Maura Orr, 55 Hilliards Hayway, West Barnstable, map 136, parcel 047, built in 1986. As submitted.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
Very good. And we'll have a roll call vote on that. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Schuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So enjoy. And it's a very nice remodel. So thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
All right. Well, our next application is for Timothy Friary, 4305 Main Street, Barnstable, map 350, parcel 049, built in 1980 to construct a new barn-style two-car garage with a one-bedroom apartment above. So we now need to have a motion to open the public hearing for this application.
Yes, this is Wendy Schuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
And we need a second.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
Thank you. And roll call vote. Wendy Schuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So we'd now like the applicant to discuss their project. I think they're muted.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Hello? Yeah, this is Bill Daniels. I'm representing Tim. Tim, he wants to do as you said, a garage, two-car garage with an apartment above, in-law apartment above. Basically, he wants to eventually renovate the existing barn, and he needs a place to live for now, and then he was going to have his, maybe a daughter or somebody move in later on into the area. It's a basically trying to keep similar to what we have right there next to it. Trying to keep it look like a barn in a sense, the same idea. Single style cupola on top. I don't know, it's about, so a deck on the back. You got a beautiful view back there with all open fields, railroads way back. The land goes really far back. And that's about all I think I can tell you about it.
okay. Would the committee like to make some remarks about this application?
Sure, I can go first, Bet, if you like.
Sure.
I think the proposed building is very well suited for the area. I think the amenities on it fit well, you know, in the historic district. But my one concern is that it's going to be built right next to like another garage. And I think that other garage, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's got a couple of garage doors on it. And, you know,
That's
yeah,
correct, Wendy. It does, but the idea for the renovation on the other one is there's not going to be any doors on the other one when we're finished.
okay. So it'll look more like a home than it will.
It'll look more like a home, yes. We are going to make that into a really nice home.
Okay. Okay. That makes a lot more sense because I was just worried, you know, two kind of garages side by side might look a little bit more commercial and
Yeah, I
not
get that.
really, you know, fitting for the area. So with that in mind, you know, we could make that, you know, part of the approval that, you know, the other building is renovated and appears more like a home. So, and let's see, so the materials, asphalt shingles, are those cedar shingles on the outside or?
Yes. No, they're going to be, the white cedar, you're talking about The cedar shingles on the siding, yes, white cedar.
Yes, okay. And let's see, and the trim color?
It's gonna be white. It's all PVC.
Okay,
Or exact, you know.
okay. Are you gonna have shutters on there? I see shutters now. I don't know if
That's
they're
the vinyl black shutters.
black, okay. And I should probably beat Ryan to the punch on the cupola because I know he's gonna ask. Are you gonna?
I can do anything you want with that. If you want a copper roof, I'll put the copper roof on it.
Yeah.
As far as the light goes, that's gonna be up to Tim. I don't wanna make him get up on a ladder if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's required. I think it's more of a curiosity thing because I know Ryan likes his cupolas, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, so that's all from me. Thank you, Bet.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Ryan, would you like to discuss?
I
The
think that Wendy hit
application?
on most of the comments that I was gonna have, so I think that I think it's appropriate. Regardless if it's lit or not, I think it's appropriate.
Okay. And Leslie, would you like to discuss this?
Yeah, this, I like the architecture. It's gonna go great. Is this going to be beside the other one? I'm confused in the location. Can you get,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be next to it. It's gonna be step forward a tiny bit. But again, the other one's gonna be completely different when it's done. And in fact, we're gonna probably do some kind of an attachment eventually, maybe with a trellis or something like that.
Yeah,
Look like it
that's what I was
belongs-
thinking too.
belongs
Yeah.
with it, yeah,
And this is a garage, 2-car garage.
correct.
Yeah. Well, fine with me.
Okay, thank you. About the windows that face 6A, are there exterior grills on those?
I haven't, let's see, I don't even know. I think on the window schedule, I think I put it on, which is on the elevations there. If you scroll down there on the window schedule. Oh yeah, the step-in grills. Approve that, or the snap-in grills?
So they would be interior, not exterior?
Interior, correct.
Okay. And we've been pretty consistent about requiring all properties that are on 6A, that the windows facing 6A, just those that face 6A, have exterior grills on them.
Oh, okay, yeah, apply.
Would you
All
be
right.
willing to do that?
No problem at all. I'll make sure I go put it on the plan.
Okay. All right,
All right.
great.
Side grills.
Do we have anybody in the public wishing to comment regarding this application?
This is Erica Brown. I don't see anyone raising their hand at the moment wishing to speak to this item.
Okay. So if there's nobody wishing in the public, we need to close the public hearing part of this application.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you. And a second?
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
Thank you. And we need a roll call vote. So Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So now we need a motion regarding this application.
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Timothy Friary, 4305 Main Street, Barnstable, map 350, parcel 049, built 1980, with the following modifications: that the existing building will be remodeled to look more like a home, the removal of the garage doors, and exterior grills on the new building, otherwise as submitted.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have a roll call vote on that, or I guess we need a second.
Leslie Wallace, second.
And then a roll call vote. Ryan Golan,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So we have approval on that application. Our next application is for Charles Swanson, 718 Cedar Street, West Barnstable, map 109, parcel 004, built 1997, to construct a 14 by 18 first floor bedroom addition. So we now need to open a
Motion.
public hearing.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
Thank you. And a second.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
Very good. Roll call vote. Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So now would Mr. Swanson like to discuss their addition for this bedroom?
Yeah, mute maybe.
Yeah, I know they were on.
It doesn't appear that he's muted, but it seems like he's having a hard time with his audio.
Mr.
Looks like
Swanson?
he's trying to call in right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
okay.
Trying to dial in, I think.
Yep.
It looks like he's online, but he's muted.
He's not muted. It's not that it seems to be having trouble with his audio. It looks like he's trying to call
Oh.
in right now.
Is your volume turned down, maybe?
It's like the microphone might not be plugged in.
Oh,
Although I'm not the technologically
All right,
advanced
why don't
person.
we,
I'm talking to you from the side of the highway, so, you know.
we can put this one on hold and then go to the next application. And then we can come back to Mr. Swanson once he gets an audio connection.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. So Erica, do we need to close this or just?
I would just make a motion just to have him come back up once his audio comes back up, just so that it's best for that. And then if not, we can try to go through the application, see if we have enough information to make a decision tonight on that.
With, yes.
Hello?
Okay.
Oh,
Hello?
I think he's here.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay,
Just in the nick of time.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. So I don't know if you heard any of that. 14 by 18, 18 being visible from the street. Asphalt shingles to match the house. Red cedar clapboards stained gray to match the existing house. The plans and show 6/6 windows with black shutters, white PVC trim, and white cedar shingles stained with the bleaching oil gray on the other two sides.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. All right, thank you for that. What about committee remarks regarding this addition? Ryan, would you like to discuss it?
Just that picture, those are shingles or is that clapboard?
Red cedar clapboard stained gray to match the existing house.
All right, the existing is clapboard as well. Yep, I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I mean, given the location, the setbacks, the existing structure, I think that the materials and design are appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Leslie, would you like to comment?
Oh, move down a bit. I want to see something. Oh, no. Up, maybe. No. I think it's gonna add balance to the house. I like it. So it's gonna be, same materials, all that. It's fine with me.
Great. All right. Wendy, what are your comments?
Yes, I agree. And I think it'll be set back just a little bit from the main part of the house, which is nice. It gives it
Yeah.
a little bit of break. But I agree. I think it blends in well with the rest of the house. I think it fits well in the neighborhood. I think the amenities you're adding, the windows, the trim, everything to be consistent with the rest of the house is appropriate. I don't have any concerns.
Great, thank you. And I also agree with all the committee remarks, and it's set back a little bit, and again, a not very appropriate addition. So do we have anybody in the public wishing to talk about this? Is there anybody?
This is Erica Brown. I don't see anyone raising their hand to speak to this item at this time.
Okay, well, that being the case, why don't we close the public hearing part of this application?
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
All right,
Second, Leslie Wallace.
thank you, and a roll call vote. Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So now we need a motion to approve this certificate of appropriateness.
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Charles Swanson, 718 Cedar Street, West Barnstable, map 109, parcel 004, built 1997, as submitted.
Second, Leslie Wallace.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So thank you very much. Your project is approved. Right?
Thank you very much. Sorry
Thank
about the
you.
audio problem.
No worries, you're not the first.
Well, you got your audio working just in time. Very good. So our
Thank
next
you.
project is for the Barnstable Historical Society, 3087 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 039, built in 1834, to replace the existing 24 by 15 sign with a 32 by 20 sign in navy blue with gold. An existing pole will remain. So now we need to open the public hearing section for this application.
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
All
Ryan
right,
Caholen, I'll second.
very good. And we need a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So with the applicant for the Historical Society wish to discuss their sign.
Hey, it looks like you're muted.
Yeah. Betsy, I think you're muted. There you go.
Sorry, I thought you muted me.
Okay.
I'm not good at this technology. The sign that's there is very old. It's old. It will be rehung on the porch. There's history to it, but it's very hard to read when you're coming down 6A. And we just wanted it a little bit bigger and to go with that 1834 sign that even though my signage example, the copy on it is not the right blue. This is the right blue. This is
Okay.
circa 1834. And so be cohesive. And yeah, I know what my sample there. Louis Voulamir has volunteered to make this by hand, and the letters will be in gold. That just doesn't look very good in the picture. Sorry. There'd be a closed and an open sign, and we'll remake the hours. We don't want to have him do that because we bury them. Any questions?
Okay, well, let's, the committee, we'll have committee remarks now. Leslie Wallace,
Whoops.
Leslie,
What's the size of the one that's up there now?
1 second while I look it up.
I think it's on the application. It's 24 by
is.
15.
Thank you.
24, okay. So
And
you're
so-
going from 24 to 32.
Right.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Looks
And we're
good.
gonna sneak in the words and gardens, because we
Yeah.
love people to go through those.
Mm,
That's right. Get it while the going's good. It
Exactly.
looks good to me.
Thank you.
All
And by
right,
the way, I have Jamie Hunsaker on the board sitting with me.
all right. Wendy, would you like to discuss this change in sign?
Sure, I think it'll look very nice. And you're gonna hang it from the post, just like the current one, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
The crossbar, whatever you call that thing, is being redone by Mark at the blacksmith shop in memory of Jim Ellis.
Wow. Yeah, and it'll have the closed sign and, well, it's not required. The hour sign isn't the most attractive thing,
No,
but,
that's gonna be redone, but just
right.
so that we can change it. Whereas
Yeah, you've got to, yeah,
nobody
Yeah,
would
I
have.
understand, yes. But I think the colors are great. I like the gold leafing. I like the fact that it matches the other one, so I'm good with it. Thank you.
Might I
Good.
add, the town has suggested we plant gold and blue flowers underneath.
Jeez.
are they gonna
right.
pay for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah,
like
right.
discussed this with the gardening.
All right, Ryan, would you like to make some comments regarding?
They're minimal. I think it's great.
Yeah. Good, thank you.
That's all I have.
And this is Pat McCarthy, and I also think it's a huge improvement, and it's quite fitting and appropriate, and so very nice. Is there anybody in the public that is waiting to discuss this sign change?
This is Erica Brown. I do not see anyone raising their hand at this time.
Okay, all right. So in that case, we need to close the public hearing section for this application.
This is
So,
Yep, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Ryan
Leslie
Caholen, I'll
Wallace,
second.
I'll second.
all right, and a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So we've closed the public hearing part, and so now we need a motion to approve the application.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Barnstable Historic Society, 3087 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 039, built 1934 as submitted. I mean, 1834, I'm sorry, 1834 as submitted.
Great, thank you. And a second.
Ryan Cole, and I'll second.
All right, and a roll call vote. Brian Cahola,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So we have approved your application for the sign change for the Historical Society. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And I'll let Louis know tonight.
Very good. All right. So our next application is for Diane and David Munsell, 3075 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 041, built in the 1880s. Demolition to deconstruct the building and to save what materials are salvageable to be incorporated in the new build. So we now need a motion to open the public hearing for this application.
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
And may we have a second?
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
All right, and a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Ryan Cahola,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. So now we need the applicant to discuss their project. So is Diane or David available to talk about this?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is Peter Freeman, attorney. I am a resident of Barnstable. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. The Munsells are also here. I'm just going to speak briefly to kind of set the background, and David will explain a little further. We are here because although the construction had started many months ago, and they had received the certificate of appropriateness for what is to be built, and is in the middle of construction, as I said. But apparently many, many months after the building permit and the construction started, the building department notified David and Diane that they felt as though they should have obtained a certificate of demolition from Old Kings Highway. So that's why there is now before you at this hearing the application for a certificate of demolition. I can assure you, and David will speak as I said, and certainly answer any questions, they have acted in total good faith. What has occurred apparently is that, and there are some letters submitted, which I want to make sure are read into the record, or at least acknowledged for this application. What they talked about and what was shown to Old Kings Highway when they got this approval was deconstructing the original building and stating that as many of the original pieces would be incorporated into the new construction. And that is indeed what's happening in the process of painstakingly deconstructing. It took 4 or 5 days to remove the pieces and save them. Cost more money to do it that way. But that's what they said they were going to do, and that's what they wanted to do. Unfortunately, when they did that, they had hoped to keep perhaps at least one wall, the structural part of a wall, but it was so rotted, the 2 walls that maybe were candidates for that were so rotted that they just had to be removed. But they have saved most of the pieces, and by the way, also a cupola. So the cupola that had been there will go back on, the same one, and some other elements and pieces of the building, as I said, will be incorporated, including some corbels and some of the wood, timbers, and all of that. So in a nutshell, I think what summarizes it very well and supports your approval. There are letters that I want to mention that were sent in. Erica, if you can just confirm that your office received these records, these letters. There's a letter in support from Jeffrey Goldstein, who lives in Barnstable. There's a letter of support from Gordon Starr. There's a letter of support from Gary Burris, and also from Paul. I have the letter right here.
Paul Richard, it was. Yes,
And
I had
Paul
received
Richard,
all
right.
those letters.
So thank you. So Paul Richard and Gary, as you know, were previous members. So let me just read briefly from those 2 letters because they really summarize why we're in this situation, and I think confirms the utter good faith from my clients, and certainly shows they in no way were trying to do anything wrong. I'm not reading the whole letter, but from Carrie Burr, she says she was on the committee when this was approved. She says it was clear from the application and the discussion that the Munsells intended to incorporate not only design features of the original carriage house, but also reuse as much of the materials as possible. I was not surprised when the building was deconstructed in the winter, and that is what happened. And I did not feel that the applicant had violated the conditions of the certificate of appropriateness or misled the committee in any way. It appears in hindsight that a demolition certificate may have been prudent. And towards that end, I hope that the committee agrees to approve this application by issuing a demolition permit, which would allow the Munsells to proceed and construct the building that will result in the structure that was unanimously approved and deemed appropriate. So that's Carrie's letter. And then I think more briefly, Paul Richard wrote as follows: I was chair of the committee when the first certificate of appropriate was approved. Later, it was approved again because they hadn't realized that it expired after 12 months. It was the same application, and it was just approved a second time. It was clear during those hearings that the applicant would use any salvageable materials. No conditions were put on the certificate about how much original materials would be used. During that process, the certificate of demolition was never requested. As chair at that time, I take responsibility for that oversight, and no blame should be put on the applicant. I ask that the committee look favorably towards the application and vote to approve so that the Munsells can continue to rebuild this carriage house. So with that, I would say we think it's totally justified that the demolition approval is appropriate. And I will ask David to make a few remarks. I don't know if you want to hear too much more. He has some photographs that were submitted that would show the pieces that they have painstakingly disassembled and kept with the intent of incorporating as much as they can, as I said. So David, perhaps just a few remarks, but I think pretty much we've covered what we need to cover. Any questions before I turn it over to David?
Okay, this is Bette McCarthy. I just want to say that we did approve the design for the new build. So what we're considering now is the demolition application.
Correct.
So I like the committee to discuss this application, or excuse me, the applicant. Do you have any comments that you'd like to make regarding it? The Munsells, do they wish to talk?
David, I think I covered pretty much, but feel free if you want to just say a few things. And, certainly I think you can corroborate what I said. And if you have the pictures, which you should in the submission, members of the committee, I don't know that they need to be pulled up, but there they are. Erica, thank you. So David, your turn for whatever you want to say.
Hi, good evening. This is David Munsell, and mea culpa. I never would have anticipated this. All through the discussions we had over the years. Being on the board and going through the process, and so we're at this point right now. So you can see what the building, the pictures that are up now. That's what the building looked like in 2012 when we bought it, and then the next photo down, that photo right there shows, go back up, that photo right there just shows how rotted and in terrible condition it was. And then Eric, are you driving are you moving them down, or am I?
Yes, I am.
All right, if you move
Point
it
me
down.
where you want to go.
Yeah. I think, David, just a few selective pictures of, the building as you were taking it down.
So, at the beginning, if you go up a couple of pages where there's a layout, up one, nope, that one right there. As you can see, I marked all the walls, A, B, C, D, E, and F. E and F are inside the building, they're gone to begin with. Wall A, where the doors are in the front, A, B, C, and D are all in the exact same location today as they were, prior to the deconstruction of the barn. You know, when we took the doors off there was just a pressure treated beam that we had put in there. That was the only piece of that wall left. The B wall was well out of plumb. That was that rotted upper corner, and that was rebuilt from the inside, just sistering as much of the wall as possible. The C wall was inside, like the little there was like a little room in there, and that was also completely rebuilt with 2x4s and 2x6, just sistering, and it had plywood on the outside. And then the D wall was the only wall that was really left intact from the original building. And when we took the boards off on the inside of it, the studs that were coming, the original studs that were coming down had just rotted, 6, 8, 10 inches up from the sill. So that wall was just being held together with by the old clapboard on the outside. Then I think if you go just scroll down for more photos, can you move us the pictures? Yeah, you can see that's the front where the doors were. And go ahead and scroll right down. You can see that's inside that little room. That's, there was plywood there from when we fixed it in 2012, 2013. And keep going. That is the D wall. If you go down a little bit more, you can see the bottom, and keep going down. Those, there's nothing structurally sound there to build a new house on. Yeah, you can see that one right there. That's the bottom where it meets the sill, and it's just all rotted, and that's all just dust from termites or bugs or whatever. And I think if you go down, see what else we have. And that is the attic where the same, it had been rebuilt prior to when we bought it. And if you keep going down, those are just more pictures. That's that D wall again. And that's the D wall.
Beautiful window.
And it's just, rot everywhere. And if you keep going down, that's just the back, I think. Yeah. And again, there was, structurally, it was fine for an old barn to be cobbled together like that, but it just wasn't going to work at all. And those are some of the beams, that we saved. And you can keep going down. There's some more beams that I've moved over behind my house here. And those are some of the beams that are over at my mother's house. And then that's some of the planking that we've cleaned and put in my back shed. And then the window pediments, we're going to have one window pediment in the front that we're going to replicate that. This window is a little bit narrower than the one that's, going to have the pediments on it, but we're going to save the little knee brackets. I'll take those off and save as much as I can to put back on.
That's great.
And that's the cupola. The cupola's, got a red cedar roof on it, and that'll go, we saved that. That's going to go back up. And that's just another picture of the beams. And those are all the corbels. We saved 39 corbels, had them all cleaned and sanded, and we're going to reinstall those back on. I think we need a total of on the new property. We need a total of about 50 or 60. But I have 39 of them that I've saved that are going to go back on. And then those are the windows for the cupola. And then those two windows, those will go on the interior of the house somewhere. Those are the ones that were on that C and D wall. So the sashes, they're not thermopane, they're not, they couldn't be used as an exterior window, but we're going to incorporate them back into the property. If you keep going down. Oh, no. And I think that's it with all the photos that we have.
I think, yeah, I think that's it. So thank you, David. And I think we can end there. I think, as they say, not just the pictures in this case, what we've said, and again, to repeat the letters from the two former members who were there. And then as David explained, and the pictures tell a great story. So we'll end there and just say that we do think that the certificate of demolition is appropriate and respectfully ask that you grant it.
All right. Thank you for that presentation. May we have committee comments regarding that? Wendy, would you like to make?
Sure. So just a couple questions. So I just want to clarify. So in the original application, it was not to deconstruct this barn, right? It was to add on to the barn, I think take the roof off and do something with the trim, but it wasn't to deconstruct the barn, correct?
That the original, it got kind of lost in conversations that we had. I was on the board, and I'd been getting advice from everybody over the year plus. And I think just at the meeting when, our architect stated our case, that just never made it to the meeting or the minutes. Or, at that time I had hoped to, try to rebuild as much as possible, but I didn't until we took it apart. We really, there was nothing there. But I didn't really think there was going to be too much right from day one.
Right. So did you get a second opinion from anybody before taking the barn down?
Yes, we had, there's a letter in there from Jeff Goldstein, because we had, he took a look at it, had other carpenters, the Paul and Porter Galvin look at it. There was just nothing in there that was, could have been rebuilt. That one D wall, I tried to lift it, take it and lift it out, but it just crumbled because I was going to try to set that one aside,
Right.
but it just, basically just fell apart.
Right. And I guess, my thought is like anything can be rebuilt, I mean, it's a lot of work, and yeah, it's just unfortunate. So let's see. So I guess the other question is, so much of the disrepair was visible from the naked eye. And so I guess I just wonder, like, why the demolition wasn't part of the plan from the get-go, like why did this come later?
It was, I guess it's semantics, it was never a demolition. It was always a disassemble. And on the inside of that, the addition on the side of it was all, the inside had all horizontal pine boards. So, I couldn't see what was there until we, started taking it apart.
Right. But I think, the miss was that the deconstruction part, wasn't communicated to the committee, right? Like, I think in your, in your head, in your discussions, that was there, but I don't think it was apparent to the committee. So in terms of what is being saved for the outside, because I think that's really what we have to focus on here, right? We can't really control what you do on the inside. So the cupola, part of the cupola,
The whole cupola.
the whole cupola, other than the glass, right? Because you can't put the glass on the outside, so that's got to go on the inside.
No, the cupola that came off has glass panels that will go back in.
Oh, okay. It was the glass from the little jog, right? That you
Correct.
can't. Right. Okay, got that. And then you're trying to replicate some of the trim.
Yeah, we've got the same design pattern in the trim. It's, it's like, a great big freeze and a, deep soffit, and we have all those corbels are going to go back in. The goal from day one was to make it look like, the barn was expanded upon, and when we're done, it's, it looks like it's been there since the 1830s, 1840s. That was the goal.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Brian, would you like to discuss this?
No, I have no comments.
Okay. Leslie?
Well, I was on the committee when all this happened. Before this part of it came up, David came before us to do structural stuff on the main carriage house. He wanted to, I think it was David, replace the glass and different things. So I feel he intended to keep the carriage house part and add the wings to both sides. And if I'm hearing this correctly, when it started to, the building started to happen, the carriage house was just too destroyed, or you couldn't use what he wanted to do. So I don't think he tried to deceive anybody. I just think when he started to take that apart to add different things, it was rotten. But I think if you look, he did come before us. I think, didn't you, David, to change the
Well, we came three different times.
window on the side and the
Yeah, that
cupola
was,
yes.
yeah, we had some
So-
modifications.
You are not deceived. You intended to use that carriage house and put the wings on. And you couldn't when you saw all the rot. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't live in a house that's gonna fall down on you. I feel bad about all this. I didn't know a lot of the background stuff, but you know, you're gonna have to do the demolition and save what you can and, you know, hope for the best.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think what I had hoped to save was on that addition on the church side of that, that's what I had hoped to, save, the
That's
walls.
what you came for. You wanted to do something. It was so long ago, it's hard for me to remember. But you wanted to replace a window. And you know, when you replace anything and you were gonna do it historically, very expensive. We talked about it. And then the glass panes and the cupola. I do remember that. So I think in good faith, you came before us thinking you can just add on to that carriage house. That's my point.
Yes.
Isn't the issue tearing down the carriage house? It's not adding on to it, it's tearing it down.
Well, this is the first,
Yeah,
we did the plans and
Yeah.
all. Nobody knew about all the rot.
right.
I'm just saying, you know, I don't feel deceived, like, oh, we're gonna say this, but we're gonna do, I don't feel like that, because why would somebody come before us to put special glass, not all that cheap, a historic window, not all that cheap, if you weren't thinking you were gonna go through with the carriage house and then the wings on the both sides? That's all I'm saying. And I was there, I remember it.
thank you,
This is
Leslie.
Ryan Caholen.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I feel like now I have a couple of comments, if I may. The intent to deceit, I don't think we're gonna decide that here tonight. I think we've all been involved in projects at some point involving construction or renovations of age structures where there will always be an element of hidden damage. Sometimes hidden damage is often in the way of the best intentions. So I don't think we're here to determine if there was ill intent or not. I think we're here to determine if what is being built is appropriate. Because whether we like it or not, the structure is gone. So just the comments that I wanted to add.
thank you, Ryan. This is Bette McCarthy. I also was on the committee, and we approved the new design and a modification. And the intention was to use the materials as much as would fit into the new cottage. So the fact that some of the materials were rotted, that was unforeseen and nobody really would be able to know about that. So I have a much newer house and I already have rot in my house. So it's what happens on Cape Cod because of our moisture and some of our other issues. So the design is not in question. It's the thing that we're voting on tonight is an after the fact demolition approval.
Right.
Is there anybody in the public wishing to make comments? Erica?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like Brooke Smith would like to make a comment.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is W.B. Smith. My wife Marsha is sitting next to me. We live at 2841 Main Street in Barnstable, and we are both in favor of the certificate of demolition. I saw that barn early on in 1970 when Judy Barnett owned the home. I'm surprised it even stood until today. It really is loaded with rot, and I think David has done an absolutely great job. David has also shown me a lot of the material that he's retained, and we are very pleased that David has gone through all this effort to produce something I think the village will be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to comment?
Looks like Robert Yarrell would like to comment.
Hi, so I'm a designer of the house for the Munzels. I designed the home. And the big thing the Munzels we all spent a lot of time on was trying to incorporate all the details that are in the barn, like David said and Peter, from the brackets to corbels, the valances, the window casing details, everything that goes into that house to make it look like it's always been there. That's the whole idea. I mean, we don't have a little bit later in the file, you could see the elevations because we have to do a couple little changes on the outside, but we try to create something that basically that has the barn effect merged to a Greek revival style home to give it that kind of character, and then saving all the components. There's a lot of things that are going to be used on the inside of the barn to give it the character. Unfortunately, I'm not going to see that on the outside, but there's a lot of passion put into the home by the Munzels to try to have to bring back something that couldn't be saved because of the rot. You could not lift it or pull it up or save a wall section because it was just crumbling. And basically, when you have a post and beam or something that's fairly solid, you can do things with it, but it just was like a Pandora's box. Once it started opening, there was things that just wouldn't work. So deconstructing it and taking it apart and saving those components, I think was a huge thing. And overall, when you a little bit late, a few things down on the agenda, we have a few changes, but you can see all the styles and everything that are put back into that are going to be there. So it really looks like, the barn doors, everything to give it that look, while it's a residence on the inside, for the Munzels. So that's what I just wanted to say. That was all. So.
Okay, thank you. Erica, anyone else raise their hand to speak?
Chair, at this time, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and Beth, can I just make one more comment? So it may be that the barn should have been demolished, but I think by not filing an application, this committee really wasn't given, I guess, the proper opportunity to make that decision based on the facts as they were, to go look at it for ourselves. I think also we have to think about setting a precedent for giving somebody approval on a certificate of appropriateness and then having them tear down a building and coming back for approval later. I don't think that's a good precedent for us to be setting. So just some things to think about.
Madam Chairman,
yes,
if I could just make one comment to that, which I absolutely understand and respect, even more so because you folks may know, but I was on Old Kings Highway for 12 years, quite a while ago now, but I was chairman and I respect the committee. I favor it. I think it's very important. And I absolutely understand what you said. And both from the committee viewpoint and naturally being a lawyer, I do understand about precedent. But I think the fact is, it wasn't, gee, suddenly after the fact, we demolished it. Everybody has stressed who spoke that it wasn't just a demolition. It would have been quicker and cheaper to just demolish it. That would have not been consistent with what was discussed. I certainly understand that it wasn't clear the first time around. And I wasn't involved. I'm not saying that it would have been if I was, but just so you know. But I appreciate what you just said. But again, they painstakingly deconstructed it with the hope of keeping as much as they could. I won't repeat what was said. So I just point that out because your concerns are totally legit, but I think that there are factual distinctions that one would be able to appropriate cite if somebody did the same thing later, and you would analyze it the same way you've analyzed this one, where everybody who wrote letters and spoke understands and supports the Moncells that they didn't try to do anything like that. So thank you very much.
yes. And I'll make one more comment. We had a chairman who had been chair of this committee for over 9 years, and he was very well versed on the rules and regulations. So we followed his guidelines when we approved this in the design of the new cottage in the past. So since there are no more public comments to be made, could we have a motion to close the public hearing part of this
Sure.
application?
Yep, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
All right, and a
Leslie
second.
Wallace, second.
Thank you. And a roll call vote. Brian Caholen,
Aye.
thank you. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So now that the public hearing section is closed, may we have a motion to approve the application for the demolition of 3072 Main Street.
3070. Okay, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of demolition application for David and Diane Munsell, 3075 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 041, built 1800s, as submitted.
All right,
Brian
thank
Caholen, I'll
Wallace.
second.
a second. All right, and a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
No.
Brian Caholen,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So we have a 3-1. So this demolition application was approved as submitted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Very much.
There are no other applications for certificate of appropriateness. So we have some minor modifications to discuss this evening. The first one is for Eileen Pekarev, 30 Commerce Road, Barnstable, map 301, parcel 040, built 2020, to install Marvin windows in place of existing screens on a porch. Erica, is the applicant online? I'm not sure they need to make remarks on a minor modification. Is that right?
That is correct. And no,
Okay.
they are not online.
Okay. We just need to have the committee discuss the changes. Wendy, do you have any?
I think the windows in place of the screens is a nice addition. I actually think it would look better than it does with the screens in it. So and I think it'll blend in nicely with the rest of the house and the neighborhood. So I'm in favor.
Okay. Ryan?
Sorry, I'm struggling to get off mute. No, I think the modifications are appropriate.
And Leslie?
Yep, I think the modifications are appropriate as well.
And I also agree. So it's a much better look for the property. May we have a motion to approve the minor modification?
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the minor modification application for Eileen Pekarev, 30 Commerce Road, Barnstable, map 301, parcel 040, built 2020 as submitted.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
Thank you. A roll call vote. Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So that minor modification is approved as submitted. Our next application is for Jean Marie and J. Scott Berberian, 11 Medina Drive, Barnstable, map 355, parcel 014, built 1983, to change approved entry door color from black to Benjamin Moore Tranquil Blue. Okay. Committee discussion on this? Wendy?
No concerns from me.
Okay. Leslie?
None for me.
Ryan?
No issues on my end.
And I have no concerns, as it is a Benjamin Moore color. So may we have a motion to accept this minor modification?
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the minor modification application for J. Scott and Jean Marie Barbarian, 11 Medina Drive, Barnstable, map 355, parcel 014, built 1983, as submitted.
Second,
Thank you.
Leslie Wallace.
And a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. All right. Our next minor modification is for Diane and David Munsell, 3075 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 041, built in the 1800s. A roof line adjustment on the gable end to remove decorative brackets from the top of the porch post to change the clapboard to ASIC 1x6 beveled clap, color to be painted Windsor white.
Okay, I'm on. Again, okay. So everybody can see it from the front elevation. Just making an adjustment to the right side of the gable roof there with the overhang. Because of just how the roof was laying out, the roof was coming up a little bit too high in that corner. We wanted to bring it down a little bit, keep it low. So it looked like, you know, trying to keep that section low there. The second thing basically is on the front, We originally had cedar clapboard. The AZAC has a new clapboard, which is rigid, slightly textured, composite, which is, once it's painted, looks just like wood. I have literature down a little bit lower in the article or in the file, if you go down. But if you want to show that, and right there, shows the clapboard, has a slight texture to it. It's rigid, looks just like cedar. It's being painted the Windsor white that is the color of the barn, basically, original barn. Just as a way to, try to not to be for the maintenance issue with the cedar. The cedar right now, lately, is super expensive right now, but also the tin and oil in the cedar has been bleeding a lot on it, even with the primers and the clapboard in the front, which is just the front sections. Everything else is just white cedar shingles, natural. But it's a nice product. It's being used on a Georgian colonial in Sandwich in the historic district. That Structures, I think it's Structures Inc. is doing it. They also had a sample of a wall at Shepley done in it, and it's very nice looking. Does not look like cement board. Does not look like some of the cheaper ones. I mean, it's nice, rigid. It's got to be installed the same way as regular clapboard. It's blind nailed, and will be face nailed and then painted. The other thing, the change was, if you go back up, I'm sorry, I'm making you go back up, Erica. On the front porch, if you zoom in on the front elevation. So originally at the post, there's 3 posts in the porch there. At the top of the post, there's a little decorative bracket, kind of like a scroll type of bracket. I thought it looked cleaner with taking the bracket off because it was looking too much like a too Victorian with the bracket. So it's just going to be a traditional post top with molding that's appropriate for a Greek revival, with a quarter round molding underneath it. So it's 1, 2, and I think there's something of AZAC and then the brackets. I think that was the 3 things that was on the thing. 1, 2, 3. Yes, 3 done. And the AZAC, of course, is going to be painted the Windsor white color, which is what the color of the barn was. So.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Leslie, do you have any comments regarding the
Yeah, can you go back to the picture of the front? Okay, so on the left-hand side, the pitch of the roof, is that what you're getting rid of? I always think of it as kind of.
No.
Okay.
It's what it is just the roof is just, it's an adjustment to the gable, and it's shaded. It says roof line adjustment to gable end. It's in the upper right-hand corner above the barn doors.
Oh, okay. I'm
in
on
that corner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go down the next picture, Erica,
Yeah.
go down the next the side view. One more down. I'm sorry. Right there, stop. So that's how it's going to look from the side. It's a very
Okay.
traditional type of gable inset. It's exactly similar to two of the houses that are adjacent on either side for that period and stuff. And then basically that molding just returns. And then of course the brackets return underneath, just like they did in the barn. So
yeah,
it's right there. So
what is the pitch of, if you're looking, because I go by this all the time, it seems high. What is the pitch when you're looking at it? Go up. Yeah.
what pitch for what roof? So
It must be the one on the left. What's the height
that one
of
there? That was approved. That's 1412, which is
Okay.
a traditional pitch for that Greek revival look that we're going for.
Okay.
There are multiple houses on Old Kings Highway in the village that have the same pitch there.
You
So
know,
not touching that. That's staying.
yeah. Is this house on kind of the footprint of the carriage house, or is it?
Right, no, so basically, if you look at the doors are, they're the barn doors.
Yeah.
That section there, that is where
That's
the
where the
carriage house
footprint is.
was.
Okay,
And then to the right, and you can see what David brought up earlier is we have that pediment detail on the D window next to that door.
yeah,
That's the pediment detail that was on the original window that we can't use because it's not insulated. You know what I mean? It's just a sash.
yeah,
But we went with the 2/1 because of the period, but we're adding that detail, which was approved at an earlier meeting, just to give it that character. And then we have the batten door with a little diamond in it. And then diamonds in the door. So we put some things that tie the diamonds into the cupola, which is the original cupola, which is on the
yes,
roof.
I
where it shows that.
remember that, yep,
Right. And then
Yeah.
the brackets return around the same balance detail and soffit and fascia detail that the carriage house had, even the false little roof over the doors. Now the doors don't open, but they're going to look like they open. That's
Yeah.
the whole key. They're
Yeah.
actually, there's a room behind them. The family room or the dining room is actually behind it.
right. It's
So
a
those windows,
facade,
those
yeah.
transoms will open, but the doors will look like it's a, carriage doors. They open
Yeah.
up, but they don't. So
Okay,
just
well, that's, I was kind of confused on what was.
no,
So
that's no
the,
problem. Just go ahead. Ask.
the original, those doors in the middle is
Mhm.
where the carriage house was to begin with.
That's correct. Those dimensions haven't changed. That's the same dimension.
Okay,
Original barn, it says original barn location. That line from that side to the right, where on both sides, that was the original carriage
Right.
house there. And then the 10'2" or 10'3" section to the right of that, where the window was with the little pediment and the
Yeah.
diamond door, that was the step in, that steps in. So you can see that on another elevation. If you
Yeah.
scroll down, that was the section, the wall that keep going down. Thank you. Right there, stop. So the wall where the K windows are now, the three little awning K windows are.
yeah,
That was the wall that was that was the wall he was really trying to save, but couldn't save it because it was rotted underneath and above and everything. But that wall, that jog, that bump, those are all the same dimensions of the carriage house. And there was a hip roof up on top there that tied into the carriage house that was there originally with the hip above there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a
Regard-
couple, Leslie, I have some questions. So were there other changes too? Like when I was reading the plan, I saw, and maybe these were changes that were in there before, I don't know, but like the window lights. And then I think maybe there was a window removed or.
Right.
was that
So
already-
basically, if you go back, we can go through this from the front. Start with this elevation. Okay. So original window light cut was changed at one of the, I think the first meeting we went to. We simplified it. That window originally had it designed with diamonds in it, like David's cupola. But that window was almost $3,000 for Marvin to do that little window. And there's two of them. There's one in the front, there's one in the back elevation. And we just came up with something that had the look because it's some unique. There's a couple houses if you drive up Old Kings Highway from Barnstable into Sandwich, there are a few houses that have that triangular window in the gable. Some of them are on a colonial style, some are on like a revival or early revival. So we simplified that. That was one of the changes. And then that was one change on the front. That was really kind of the only change on the front was that. And then that little pediment detail to match original on the right side on the bump out. That was at an early meeting that was approved. And then if you go down to the next one, there were two windows that were in the knee wall up there that were removed because it just got a little too busy on that side with the windows. A lot of the houses have those, but with the angle bay in there and stuff and the little diamond windows, the old windows, we have little diamond windows, and those are all these windows are true simulated divided light with spacer. So they look, when they're all trimmed out and done, it's gonna look like 100-year-old windows. But we took those two windows out on a change, and then the back of the house, go down again, Erica. Next, keep going. In the back of the house, we removed the window where it says window removed. That was approved. And then the diamond window was changed there. And then we also approved a door in the back, and we took off the brackets in the back because of the cost factor. I mean, it was just, like David said, he had 60 brackets to do what he needed to, but each bracket cost X amount of dollars to be duplicated in mahogany, cedar, or one of those, and then primed. So we simplified the back. It still has the same soffit depth and fascia details and everything, but we just took the brackets off the back to kind of, and then we added aluminum gutters that will be added to help with the water on the house. So, but those were done at earlier presentations to the Old Kings
Okay,
Highway.
that's fine.
So,
I'm not gonna, I don't want to, I just didn't know it said change. I didn't know if it was a new change or not. And then the other thing is on the AZAC. So I think the AZAC, you know, from a product is fine. I think it will probably look nice. But I'm a little, you know, I'd like to challenge the 4-inch reveal. I think it's probably a little bit too wide. I think most of the homes you see on 6A are more like a 3-inch reveal. You know, you'd see a 4 or 5-inch reveal like over at the golf course, you know, with those homes over there. But I think on Route 6A, it should be a narrower reveal on the siding. I think it should be small. I think maybe 3.5 tops, but I think 4 is probably too wide.
yeah, normally, okay, I understand that, but right, a lot of the houses that have clapboard on it do have, some even have closer reveals at the bottom because it flares the clapboard out,
Correct.
acts as a water table to deflect the water
Correct.
off the building.
Yep.
Then as it comes up, after about 5 courses, it goes into its standard course. But we can go less than 4. We can go look at some of the houses around there and just measure the clapboard. We can do it like the 3.5 is a good suggestion. You can do that. That's fine.
Yep.
The quarter
Yeah.
boards will be deep enough so there'll be a shadow line around the trim, like on the old homes have thicker casings around the doors. Again, we're doing that same detail in this house in the front to give it the most realistic look. So if we have to go to 3.5 instead of a 4, that's not a problem.
Yeah,
You know?
I just think it would be, you know, give it more of that old home look, you know, the narrower clapboards as opposed to the thicker ones. I think it would.
Well, yeah, most people have 5. Most of it's 6-inch clapboard normally has a 5-inch exposure. Some people do 5.25. It's really wide. I agree with you on that. The narrow does look better. So I think we do, you know, we can go 3.5, or we could actually check a few buildings, but we can, I think 3.5 would be sufficient, you know, for that. We can do 3.5 because 4 is actually smaller than what you see. Most of the places are using wider, have wider, more exposure to the weather on the outside, like 5 or 5.25 on a 6-inch clapboard. But we can go 3.5 or 3 5/8 or something like that, you know, on there to make it narrow.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. Are there any other comments regarding this modification application? All right, seeing none, may we have a motion to approve?
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the minor modification application for David and Diane Munsell, 3075 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 041, built 1800s, with a slight modification of a smaller, I guess, less wide clapboard, otherwise as submitted.
All right.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
All right. And a roll call vote. Ryan Colin.
Aye.
Wendy Shuck.
Aye.
Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
And Beth McCarthy. Aye. So our next
Thank you.
application for a minor modification is for the Magruder Real Estate Trust and the Harwich and Edward Harwich. 243 Indian Trail, Barnstable, map 337, parcel 025, built 1918. To move the garage dormer out 3 feet to align with the first floor garage. A man door added to the east side of the garage. Okay. All right, are there any questions regarding this modification for the Magruder Real Estate Trust?
I think that work has already started, hasn't it? I went by there today. It looks like it's already partially done, I think.
Yes, they applied for a building permit. I think they were just making sure to apply for this minor modification for those dormers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's okay. You worry about that roof line getting too flat, you know what I mean, when you look at it, but you know, given it's such a remote area, it's pretty far down on Indian Trail, you know, almost near the end. Although it is right near the road, you know, you do see, but you only see a part of it, so you know, I think it's okay.
All right. Leslie, what are your comments?
Yeah, it's all right with me. It's all
Right.
right.
And Ryan, do you have any comments?
I do not. I have no issues.
Right. And I think it's fine to move the dormer out to align with the first floor of the garage and to add a door. So I don't see any issues at all with that minor modification. So may we have a motion to approve this?
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the minor modification application for, let's see, Magruder Real Estate Trust, no, I'm not sure how to read this, Edward Hurwich and Magruder Real Estate Trust, 243 Indian Trail, Barnstable, map 337, parcel 025, built 1918, as submitted.
Second, Leslie Wallace.
All right, a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So we, that concludes our minor modifications. We do not have any extensions. We don't have minutes this time either. So our next meeting date would be October 11th and October 25th. So we need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to adjourn today's meeting, Wednesday, September 27th, 2023.
And the
Brian
second,
Caholen, I'll second.
thank you. And a roll call vote, Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So thank you all very much. We accomplished a lot this evening,
Yeah.
and thank you all.